Hey everybody, welcome to today's training. We are going to be going over the financial needs analysis, or at least how to collect the info for the financial needs analysis. So if you want something that is going to maximize your income per appointment, obviously you need to do all the right things to get on appointments, and your trainers, I'm sure, working with you on that. But this will maximize your profits, and do help you do the best job for your clients. You'll find out quickly that the amount of money we get paid is in direct proportion to the amount of people we can help and how much we help them. Okay. So this financial needs analysis will greatly help you maximize your time and impact with your clients, and also therefore maximize your income. I'm going to be going over where to find this, number one, and then also how to go about collecting the information at the kitchen table and kind of what you do with it, organize it, kind of tips and tricks, questions to ask, and so forth. So this will be a longer training than our normal few-minute trainings on, on how to answer questions and overcome objections and that kind of stuff. So this is a little more technical. So let's just get into it. First off, if you want, you can go to the Primerica store on POL and order these in booklet form like this. They're nice booklets. Um, so they have every page here is laid out for you with questions to ask your potential clients that you're sitting down with. It is very straightforward, but it's a good bit of info. So we're going to go over that. So I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so here is Primerica Online, right? You have all these tabs. If you go over to POL Home and then scroll down to the company store print, I'm not going to click on it now, but if you click on that, that'll bring up all of our office type stuff. So all of our brochures, our letters, stationery, all that kind of stuff that you can order. And the financial needs analysis packets are input sheets are there as well in that store. So you can go to the company store there and get that. Or if you just want the digital version, you're going to come up here and click on Turbo Apps at the top of the POL screen. And if you're brand new, your POL is going to look a little bit different than this. But once you're licensed, it will transition to this more traditional POL background and screen layout. So you'll come up here and click Turbo Apps. That'll open this tab. But you're just going to click FNA questionnaires right at the top here. Okay, so you're going to click Turbo Apps on the main page. That'll open this page up. You click FNA questionnaires. I'm going to do that right now. It's going to bring up this page for you to select what country and what language you want it in. For our purpose right now, I'm going to choose United States and English. I do not speak Spanish. Um, so we're going to open this up, and I'm going to zoom in so we can see this well. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see this okay. So first page, just a cover sheet. Okay, nothing too important. Just make sure if you're doing a lot of these, you keep them organized. So it'd be a good idea to write down your potential client's name right there, who you're doing it for, and then it's also not a bad idea to keep a file folder of all the things you're working on. If you have any statements or policies you collect from the client, keep them all in one spot until you give it back to them or until you're done working with them, for the short term. So we're going to scroll down, second page. It just goes over the financial needs analysis process, okay? If you're trying to explain someone what it does, you can kind of give them these steps. But again, so this is coming after your presentation, right? You should have already given them a presentation. Now you're moving on to collecting their info. And then we'll do a separate training on how to input that info into the financial needs analysis, the Turbo App system, and spit out a full professional financial needs analysis. That'll be a separate training. This is just collecting the info. This is something, so this whole section right here, the helpful items to have on hand. This is great, but you have to be careful. If you're brand new and you're just starting to set appointments, the best way and one of the easiest ways, and your trainer is probably going to tell you this, or some version of this, but one of the best ways to set appointments is to call family, friends, people that are close to you, people that already like and trust you, and say, "Hey, I started a new business, blah blah blah." They'll give you the script, but you're probably going to set the appointment asking them for help. hey, I just want to show you what I'm doing. I'm in training. I have to watch my trainer do a few presentations. There's no pressure. We just, I'd love to sit down and, have you help me complete my training process. So you're kind of setting the appointment when you're brand new many times under the impression that you're just asking them for help, and you're not actually necessarily coming to do their financial needs analysis and to help them with their finances. So you have to be careful if that's the mindset you're setting this under and the pretense you're setting the appointment under. You don't want to turn around, set the appointment, and then text them or email them this entire list of things saying, hey, for my training appointment, make sure you have all this stuff on hand. They're going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought I was just helping you out with a training and listening to a presentation. Now you want my pay stubs, you want my mortgage info, my investments. No, heck no, I'm out. So you don't want to just up and send this. But once you're out on your own, and you're setting new appointments, or maybe let's say you ran into somebody in the store and got talking and say, oh yeah, I do financial services. I help people with their investments and retirement planning and insurance. And they're like, oh man, I need somebody to do that. I would love that. And you exchange info. Well, you can say, hey, let's set a time. Does this time or this time work better? Does this day, whatever, there's going to be a training on how to set appointments. But you set the appointment, and then in that context, they are prepared for you to come help them with their finances. At that time, you could say, hey, I'm going to send you a list of things to have on hand. It'll make the appointment go so much smoother, help us get organized. Not everything may apply to you, and that's okay. But whatever does, just try to have it on hand to make the meeting that much more efficient, and it'll help me help you better. Use your own words, but that's a good time to send this list to people. So we scroll down. You're just going to collect their basic info. Nothing fancy here. Get their name, birth date, email, cell phone. Grab their address, city, state. Down at the bottom here, obviously, same thing. Just make sure you collect their children's names and just be mindful. There's a lot of mixed families out there, kids from previous marriages, that kind of stuff that have different names, or maybe adopted children who kept their former name, whatever. You just need to make sure that you write down their names accurately and don't just assume that their kid's last name is the parent's last name. Just always be polite, but be thorough and make sure you have all that information correct and get their birthdays. So scrolling down here, we're going to actually get started into the finances now. Saving for retirement. And the beautiful thing about this FNA input sheet, the physical one or the one here that you can download and print out, is it's going to have questions here. Again, I make this stuff my own. I don't read it off like a robot. But based on your current plan, all right, a lot of people don't even have a current plan, but you want to assume they do, makes them feel good. Based on your current plan, what age do you plan on retire, or what age do you think you'll be able to retire? You'll get a lot of different answers. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm going to work till I die. Some people say, oh, I want to retire next year, and maybe they can't, but you'll get different answers. So just kind of move along. And this is the way I this is the way I word this. Again, find out what works for you. In the first before I'm doing the presentation and getting to know the client, I try to build a pretty good rapport pretty quickly so I can joke around with them. I like to joke and have fun on the appointment. It makes things a lot lighter and a little bit less serious. At least relaxes them usually. So at what age would you realistically like to retire? So what I usually say is, hey, last week and next week are not valid options for this next question, but realistically speaking, when would you like to retire? When would you like to be able to not work for money anymore? Because some people want to work forever. They want to have purpose. They don't want to retire, quote unquote, and sit on their porch and drink coffee and yell at the dog, right? That's not their vision of retirement. Some of them want to keep working and continue to just give and have a purpose. But you can say, when would you like to stop working for money? So word that however you like. And then what age, what age would you like to use as your life expectancy? I joke around with people. I say, hey, when do you plan to die? Right? Again, you gotta gauge your audience a little bit, but I like to have fun with it. So you're gonna put those numbers in over here. So when would you like to retire? You can just click normal retirement age, and it'll put in based on their age, whatever kind of the full retirement age is. So it might be 65, 67, whatever, that's going to put the default in. So if they're like, I have no idea, and you guys haven't really got into talking about their goals too much yet, you can just put normal retirement age to start. You can always change it down the road and reprint out their plan, or change it on a revisit. So if they do know and they say, yeah, I definitely want to retire at 62, 65, 60, 55, whatever, you're going to put those numbers in there specifically so you have an accurate plan for them. Life expectancy, I will many times use the computer estimate. But if they are very healthy and they both, like the husband and wife, both have, um, family. So like for the spouse, for the wife, I might ask them, hey, the women on your side of the family, ancestors, how long do they typically live? How old's your grandma? How old your great grandma, depending how old the person is. Um, and they might tell me, oh man, like all the women in my family live well past 90. Like, okay, well then I might put in 90 for the life expectancy rather than whatever the default is, which is probably like 86, 87. But if the person says, oh, well, everybody like big history of heart disease and diabetes and cancer and this and that, whatever, like nobody in my family lives past 80. Right. Well, then I wouldn't back it down, in my opinion. I would still plan for at least the computer estimate and just put the default in there. Next question, how much? And again, if you're new to this, read these questions. These questions on the left-hand side are here to help you to give professional sounding questions to your potential clients. Now, again, I encourage you to go on as many training appointments as possible with your trainer because the more you do, the more comfortable you'll be with this, and you won't even need the left side to guide you. You'll just be able to go through this asking the questions because you'll already be used to it. But how much monthly household income would you like during retirement? So again, a lot of times, especially if they're younger, you can say, hey, look, you should be debt free. We're going to work on a debt payment plan to make sure, or a debt freedom plan to make sure that you are completely debt free at retirement. So you shouldn't have a mortgage. You shouldn't have car payments. The kids hopefully are moved out by that point. All right. You kind of make a joke there. And, you can go through a few things with them there and then just ask, how much income would you need in retirement? You probably won't need everything you have now, but generally we see people need 70 to 80% of what they're currently making to live comfortably in retirement. And you can kind of work on that. Some people have never thought about it. So you have to ask them, like, do you plan to travel? Do you plan to, travel with family? Do you want to, and some people, if they're 25, 30, they probably haven't thought about it at all or very, very little. If they're 40s, 50s, they're probably starting to think about it more. So you might get a little more accurate answers. But some people, especially the younger people, you might have to kind of dream with them a little bit and help them actually define their retirement goals. So you're going to so if they make 5,000 a month and they live comfortably on that, 80%, maybe they only need 4,000 in retirement. Figure that number out, put that in. Here, income during retirement, you could just ask them if they have anything in the works. Do they have multiple rental properties that they're going to plan to keep and not sell in retirement? Or do they have property that they're going to sell when they retire and they're planning on getting a lump sum of money when they move into retirement? A lot of questions to ask. I usually will not put anything if it's not like pretty set in stone. If it's like a 30-year-old who's like, oh yeah, I'm just getting into real estate now. I don't really know what it's going to look like, but I plan to have some stuff like that's going to be part of my retirement plan. Like, okay, that's pretty shaky. I'm not going to put that in the plan. I'll say, okay, we'll plan around that. And then whatever kind of stuff you have going on in real estate, and we can always revisit down the road and adjust these numbers. But whatever you have going on at retirement, maybe that'll just be bonus. Estate to heirs. This is more of a conversation that I typically have kind of outside of the FNA, to be honest. Um, and it's going to be a conversation more for people heading into retirement than your younger people who are just trying to get their feet under them, get some money saved, and get life insurance. So I usually don't answer this question here, but if it fits your style, you can certainly do that. And again, always yield to whatever your trainer is telling you to do, whatever Phil, the RVP, is telling you to do. Um, but I usually will go past that section. Now, Social Security. Everybody has their own little take on how they do this. For older clients, upper 40s, 50s, 60s, you definitely, in my opinion, would include Social Security because they're probably already getting letters telling them roughly what their Social Security payout is going to be. So you should have some accurate numbers there that you can put in. If they are younger, like real young, I'm talking like under 30, under 35, I will usually just tell them, hey, we're going to plan for Social Security to not be there, right? Because a lot of times the media and this and that, they believe it's not going to be there anyway. So I'll say, hey, we'll plan for Social Security to not even be there, and we'll plan to provide, you're going to provide your own retirement. And if Social Security is there, it'll be a bonus. Pensions are kind of their own beast and they're all a little bit different, but the general idea, obviously, with a pension is, like state employee worker, law enforcement officer, teacher, that kind of stuff. They might have a pension, but they will, especially as they get closer to retirement, they're going to have documentation estimating throughout the years. It'll tell them what their estimated pension payout will be. But talk to your trainer about this if you sit down with someone with a pension and to get a little more insight into how to fill that out. Now, moving on to assets, make sure you get this information. How much do you currently have saved for retirement? Right? Some people are going to know right off the bat. They'll have their statements. They'll have it pulled up on their laptop or phone or whatever. Other people are literally going to say, I have no idea. So sometimes you have to help them dig for it. So how much do you have saved for retirement? Client, spouse, put them in there. And then that's a key question to ask is, are any of these savings from a previous employer? Right here. Again, paper tells you what to say. So are they from a previous employer? Sometimes they will be, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll have cashed out an old 401k, whatever. But yes, no, fill it out. And if they say yes, have you rolled any of them to a personal account yet? Sometimes they'll have already rolled it to their current 401k. Sometimes they've already rolled it to an IRA. Many times it's just sitting there because they don't know what to do with it. And that's where you come in and you can help them. So how much do you contribute monthly? So if they make $100,000 and it's a 6% dollar for dollar match, this is the stuff you want to find out. So figure out how much they contribute monthly, how much the employer contributes monthly right here. So retirement asset details. So here you just did the totals and the basics, but then it's not a bad idea to write down the details, right? Who's the asset owner? Is it a 401k through Fidelity or Vanguard? Put that owner in there, put what it is. Is it a 401k? Is it a 457? Is it a 403b? Put the balance, monthly contribution, company match, right? You can put all the details right here and do that for whatever accounts they have. Non-retirement assets. Many times, the client and spouse might have a joint checking account, might have a joint savings account. They might keep their finances separate. Again, just ask the questions, figure this out. And right here's a question to help guide you. And then if they do have, let's say, have an emergency fund, it's only $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever, but they're actively contributing to it. You're going to ask, hey, do you contribute to it monthly? No, yes, I contribute $200 a month, whatever. You're going to put these amounts here. Pretty simple. And then you're going to do the same thing for non-retirement assets. So, okay, hey, do you guys have any investments, any assets, any savings build up that's not earmarked for retirement? That's not in a retirement account. And you can list all that here. And there's a spot for notes here to make some extra notes. Or like I do, I just kind of write all over the white space. Is just keep it organized. But moving on to income. My brain works really well monthly, so I like to ask for their monthly income. Most people know their annual, and you just break it down, divide by 12, right? You can put their monthly income in there. I usually joke with this. I said, hey, do you have any other monthly income? Do you have any side gigs, anything like that? Like, please only tell me the legal ones. They usually laugh and joke with you, but you can go ahead because a lot of people nowadays have side gigs, right? They have a primary income, but they might have another job, or maybe they'll need another job, and that's an opportunity for you to offer our opportunity, which is not a job, but it is a commissionable opportunity that they can definitely make some extra money. Social Security, pensions, monthly income taxes. So you're going to list all this there. Same thing for the spouse. I would put who they're employed by, what their position is, and their hire date as well, because those are questions on some of the forms that we fill out. And here is a great way to find some extra money sometimes. Do you normally receive a tax refund? Oh yeah, we do. Oh, how much do you get? About $1,000, $3,000, whatever it is. Well, what do you guys normally do with that tax money when you get it at tax time? If you could, put that money to better use all throughout the year, would you want to see how that could impact your plan? And some people are dead set. They love having that tax refund and they already know where it goes and they might not be open to it. I usually won't push it. But sometimes people are pinching pennies and they don't know where on earth they're going to be able to pay for how they're going to pay for life insurance or how they're going to start investing. And I have used this to help them start that process as they can make a tax withdrawal adjustment or withholding, I'm sorry, not withdrawal, withholding adjustment on their um, on their employment forms. And then that way they'll actually receive more back in their paycheck. All right, moving on to debt resolution. But you're going to want to list their debts, debt name, balance, principal, and interest. So this is the mortgage. The first one up here is their mortgage, right? If they rent and they don't have a mortgage, fine. Just skip right down to the next debt. But if they do, you're going to put, I usually put the mortgage company name right in here, and then current balance, principal and interest, additional payment. A lot of people make some extra payments on their mortgage. If their mortgage is 1,400 a month, some people just round up to 1,500, figuring, hey, I'm paying a little extra, pay it down faster. Interest rate, a lot of mortgages will be a fixed rate, but there are some that still are doing the adjustable rate mortgages. Okay, so make sure you understand and ask them which they have. And then you're going to want to include it in the debt and hit accelerate debt when you enter this into the system. We'll show you that in the next training. But you want to figure out what the principal and interest payment is. Put that here. And then again, if they have any extra. And then you'll put what their monthly property taxes are, which usually, even if they don't know, you can look that up, or they might have the paperwork with them because they'll receive statements about it. How much they pay for their monthly homeowners insurance, because if you don't know yet, we have an auto and home program that we use, Answer Financial, that they are great at helping people get better rates at auto and home insurance. So that's another way you can help them and get paid. You're going to put in their home value. If they don't know it, which a lot of people will have an idea, but they may not know exactly, I'll just look it up right there on Zillow. I'll pull up Google and, look up Zillow and put their address in. It may not be perfect. It may not be exact, because they may have done some renovations recently or something that increased the value and they haven't had it assessed yet. But it'll give you a good idea, a rough idea of what the home is worth in the property. And then monthly private mortgage insurance. Moving on to debt, pretty simple. Just list all of their debt, car loans, credit cards, store cards, anything they have. Even if they're borrowing money from a family member and paying them back, like it's not a bad idea to put that in here as well. So it's all listed, and they can see it on their debt analysis. So you're going to put the name, current balance, minimum payment, additional payment, interest rate, same thing. So just a quick note, when you put in debt over here, fixed loans are mostly like personal loans, auto loans, usually a mortgage, that kind of stuff, where it is a set loan for a set period of time with a set interest rate. Credit cards, on the other hand, are revolving. They're handled differently. So just know that pretty much most of the credit cards you're going to put in here are going to be a revolving debt. So after that, we're going to go to life insurance. So this is where, and you've probably already had some of these conversations, because throughout the presentation, you should have been asking, and again, you still might be in training and that's okay, but throughout the presentation, you'd probably show them the little section or talk about life insurance and ask them, hey, do you guys have life insurance? And you already probably have a good idea of what they have or what they don't. But again, under here, this is a great question to ask before you don't even mention, like, hey, I'm gonna move into the life insurance section. Just ask them, hey, what do you guys believe is your most valuable asset? And a lot of times, if they're homeowners especially, they will say, oh, my house, like that's clearly my most valuable asset. And you say, well, actually, it's your income. Your ability to make money over time is the most valuable asset you have. Now, if all of a sudden something happened to you, and I almost never hypothetically kill off my clients in appointments. I always hypothetically kill myself. I say, look, I'm the primary breadwinner of my family. If I'm suddenly not here anymore, and I'll make a joke, I say if I get hit by a meteor on the way home, um, and all of a sudden I'm not here. I mean, that's terrible and stressful enough, but not having my income is going to be even, insult to injury for my wife. So, do you think it's important to protect that, your ability to earn income? And I don't know that anybody's ever said no. Most of them will say, well, yeah, that would make sense. So you say, well, that's really what life insurance is, because some people still view it as just like, oh, hey, my spouse died. Now I get to go party, right? Or like, why would I want money for my spouse dying? Like, it almost feels ugly. And there's a lot of traditions and culture and environment stuff that plays into that. Proceed with tact and professionalism, but you need to bring out this stuff to make sure that they understand the importance of life insurance. And you can flat out ask them, hey, would you say it's unimportant, important, or very important to protect your family's future if you were to pass away early? And let them answer. All right, let them answer. It'll give you an idea of where they're at mentally. Okay, do you currently own any life insurance? You're going to get a lot of people saying yes, but it's only at work, right? They're like, oh yeah, I've insurance through work. Well, we'll do a whole nother training probably on life insurance and whatever, but you guys probably already know that they shouldn't be relying 100% on work insurance. Um, Also, if no, when a responsible family like yours doesn't have any life insurance outside of work, or they're underinsured, they just don't have enough, it's usually due to one of the following reasons, right? A lot of times they didn't see the need for it. Sometimes they didn't think they could afford it, right? They thought it was way too expensive, or they knew it was important. They just never got around to it. Which one describes you guys the best? You know, since you guys said you don't really have life insurance, which one, where do you fall in those three? And let them answer. It'll give you a good idea of where they're at. If they say, "Oh man, like I've been meaning to get around to it," that's going to be an easy sell, and it's going to be an easy way for you to get them life insurance as part of the plan. But, you know, if they didn't think they could afford it, that's basically they understand the value of it. They just don't, they just thought it was too expensive, and you can easily show them that it's generally not very expensive to get what they need, or they didn't see a need for it. And this is usually going to be something else that you're going to have to dig up and find out why they don't see a need for it, and help them see the value of, again, it's more income replacement than just death insurance, right? So you're going to list here if they have anything existing, whatever they currently have. If it's usually what I'll do is if it's personal insurance, I'll write it in here with how much they're paying. If it's work group insurance, I'll write it off to the side. That's just me personally, just so I know it's separate, and I'll make a note of what it is and if they're paying anything extra for it or not. Also, you can check to see if they have any policies on their children. It's not uncommon to go in and see some of these families with a lot of different whole life policies, multiple terms mixed in. You know, I had a family of four that had six different policies written on them. You know, they had one for each kid and two for each parent. So you just have to kind of dig through that. And then when you're doing this, it's not a bad idea to say, "Hey, do you mind if I take these policies home? I'd love to have a chance to dig into them more and review and see exactly what you guys have." And I usually will say, "Hey, look, if it ain't broke, I'm not gonna fix it. But if I see some red flags, you know, I'll just make note of it and let you guys know what I found when I get back. Is that fair?" And most people won't have a problem with it. But you're going to write that, you can write down the details of what policies they have here. If they have multiple, write them down. If each family member has a different one, write it down. And then again, we were already talking about coverage, but just make sure you explain to them the pitfalls of relying on group coverage. And again, that's another training altogether, but they do not want to rely 100% on group coverage if they can get private life insurance. So life insurance needs. One thing we do is the dime method, right? So debt, income, mortgage, expenses, or education, some people say. So here, this is a simple question too to kind of figure out where their mindset's at, what kind of lifestyle they want to leave their family. Um, but also it gets them, it's just another way to get them engaged. Hey, if you were to pass away prematurely, would you want your family standard of living to be better, worse, or at least stay the same? And you're almost, I've never gotten worse, I don't think, but you're almost always going to get at least stay the same. Sometimes they'll say better. You say, okay, that's great. And you already know their income, so you can kind of gauge where you need to be. Um, One rough estimate, and you can look at that down here, is just do an income multiple. So sometimes people go, I don't even know how much I'm supposed to have. And before you even do the full plan, you can say, well, a lot of experts are going to recommend 8 to 10 times your annual income. So if you make 50,000, you should have 500,000 of coverage. And you can say, but that's just, you know, a rough idea. That's a general concept. We're going to dig in and find out exactly what you need. Would you guys like to do that? Yes. It's another question. You get some buy-in. So you can ask them again, what percentage of your income do you think you're gonna need? And this is where you can help figure this out. They're not gonna know. So you can put down here, there's a couple unique or helpful options that you'll be able to select when you put this information in. Say, how many years do you want to provide that income for? So you can put 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or you can literally just say like, hey, our youngest kid is 3. I would love to make sure that so in my opinion, and I've said this, you know, I want to make sure my wife is completely covered and does not have to go back to work at all until my 3-year-old is 18, right? So you put that in and then put till the child is 18 years old right there. And that'll automatically calculate based on the information you already put in how long they're going to need the life insurance for. And then down here, again, you can, so we'll put pay off the mortgage, put the mortgage balance, consumer debt, same thing. So the other portion of the debt page, credit cards, that kind of stuff, put that in there for them to pay off. You can ask them if they want to fund their children's education with life insurance. In my experience, a lot of people don't want to, some people do. It just depends on their personal situation and belief about about the education system and what they think their children might want to do. But then here's another thing that I like to do is we'll put ask or I'll put in funeral expenses and I'll just flat out tell them, hey, I'm putting 20 grand in for funeral expenses, and I'll explain why. If you just Google average funeral cost, it's like 7 to 9,000 nationwide, which is insanely low because they don't factor in a lot of stuff. The expenses add up very quick. Yes, you could just have them cremated and toss their remains into the ocean. Okay. But a lot of people, especially in my area, they don't go that route. So it depends what they do, but I will almost always put in 20,000 every single time. And again, explain to them, give them maybe a real life example. You know, if you've walked through that with family members of having to plan a funeral or something like that, and you know how much it costs, you can give that example. So we already talked about the income multiple. That's an option too to get them a rough idea of what they need. And then this is a good idea just to gauge, to give you an idea of what they might qualify for and what rating they might get on their life insurance. So have you used tobacco or nicotine at all in the last 12 months? Or nicotine is key. Because some people say like, oh no, I don't chew tobacco, I don't smoke tobacco, whatever, but they use nicotine in other products. Okay. Or or if you just say, hey, do you smoke? No, but they chew all the time, every single day, that's still going to be a yes. So make sure you ask those questions. Have you ever had an issue qualifying for life insurance previously in the past 10 years? If they did have an issue, you're probably going to want to end up submitting that policy COD, cash on delivery. Again, we'll probably go over that in another training, but it'll help keep your quality of business up. If you know that they had trouble qualifying for life insurance before, there's a good chance they're going to have trouble qualifying with us. So you don't want to just put the policy through and then it gets denied, and then you have some issues there. So, has any person in this application had a parent who died prior to the age of 65 as a result of cardiovascular illness, right, heart attack, or cancer? So, what I'll usually just say is, have either of your parents passed away prior to the age of 65? No. Boom, let it go there. If they say yes, they say, oh, okay, was it due to cardiovascular illness or cancer? And then let them answer and just mark appropriately. And this will help give you an idea of what rating they're going to get in life insurance. And then height and weight, that'll be able to, again, help them get an accurate quote. Here is a great question. This is a great tie down question that you can ask. If I can put together an affordable life insurance program that adequately protects you and your family and improves upon what you currently have, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to implement that program? And depending on the appointment, if you're doing everything there and like you're closing on the first appointment, which I typically don't do. But if you're closing on the first appointment, you could say today. But usually I'll just ask them, is there any reason why you wouldn't consider implementing this program? Most people will say no. Well, if it's better in every way and it improves on what I'm currently doing, I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't. That's a way to get kind of a tie down and make sure you're not wasting your time. Another commitment you can get, and again, we're just working through this this sheet, but you can get a monthly commitment and say like, hey, we've looked at your debt, your investments, your assets. We're going to figure out exactly how much you need to invest for retirement and how quickly we can pay off your debt, blah blah blah. And you can ask them, we find, how much do you think you could commit to improving your current family's financial plan? And you can go right in and just say, we find that a lot of clients can free up about $200 to $300 a month towards their financial plan. Some can do 500 or more, and some can do, 100 or less. It just depends on everybody's situation. Where do you guys fall, and how much do you think you could commit in addition to what you're currently doing to your current financial plan? And they'll give you a number. Write it down, and then you can create your plan based on that. All right, and then there's other tips here, different things you can say. examples you can use, analogies you can use. But another, again, just another tie down, another commitment, um, is, hey, if is basically what we said before, but if you could put together a program that helps you reach your short-term and long-term goals, is there any reason why you wouldn't go ahead and implement it? So if you didn't ask that on the last page, you can ask it now. And then referrals. We're going to have a whole training on getting referrals. And then another thing, I usually address this on the carryback appointment once you've already done the plan and you're bringing it back, because the plan will tell you if they have a shortfall. So your plan will say, hey, they need $3 million by the time they retire to retire comfortably, and they're only on track to have 1.8 or 2. And you can say, hey, there's $1 million shortfall here. You need to make an extra $800 a month to invest that. Like, you have an $800 shortfall per month. Do you have any way to make that money up? And that's an opportunity to bring them out to our business overview, and potentially get them involved in our opportunity and be part of the team. So I don't usually address that here. I will address that on the carryback. You can also do this acknowledgement and consent page. This is literally just them kind of saying, hey, I understand everything I told you was true and accurate, right? Print, sign, date. You print, the spouse print, signs, the date as well. And then you can scan this into VBS. You can have it. That way, most of the time, it's not going to be an issue. But that way, if you get somebody who, um, that you come back and you give them the plan and maybe start implementing some stuff, and what they told you wasn't entirely true. Maybe they fudged their numbers a little bit to sound better because they were embarrassed or whatever. And then they come back and say, like, hey, this was not an appropriate investment for me. This was not appropriate life insurance for me, blah, blah, blah. You can come back and say, hey, I've got your name right here. Like, you signed saying that everything you told me was true. If it wasn't true, I'm sorry, but that's on you. That wasn't my fault. I was going with based off the information I had. Okay, so you can read through this and have them sign that if you would like. Education. Here's some extra things we can do, some supplemental pages. But education, and in our system, our digital system, if you're doing things online, you can actually go in here and put, like, hey, kid's 2 years old. You guys are huge Penn State fans. Is that where you would like them to go, or at least plan to go? Yeah, I'd love for my kid to go to Penn State. Okay, you can go into the system, look up Penn State. The kid is 2. They're going to go to Penn State at 18. That's 16 years. In 16 years, this is roughly how much Penn State, this is our estimate of how much Penn State's going to cost per year to go to. And it'll input all the information for you. So I would use this, if you're filling this information out, to make notes and write down them, how old they are, when they're going to start school, how many years it is. And if there's a specific school that the parents want them to go to or they want to go to, write that down. But then the computer can spit out all of the detailed information for you. Goals and dreams. Sometimes people want, somebody wants to buy a boat, somebody wants to buy a vacation home. They want to maybe take a trip of a lifetime, right? And they're saving up for that, or they want to save up for it, but they just don't know how to go about it. You can use this page to help them do that, figure out how much they need to save per month to reach their goals. Emergency fund, same thing. You can kind of go over, say, like, hey, you probably already know it by now, but do you have an emergency fund? How much do you have in there? How much do you want to have in there? And based on their income and their living style and expenses, you can help them say, like, hey, you guys have 3,000 saved right now. Based on your income, if something were to happen, you'd lose that income temporarily. You want to make sure you guys are set. So you really should probably have 10,000 or 15,000 or 30,000 or whatever the number is. And then you can help them map out a plan to get there. Auto and home insurance, talked a little bit about, but we have a great broker partner in Answer Financial that will help our clients get auto and home insurance coverage. That gives you an opportunity to help them, and again, get paid more. Legal protection, that's where really I sell this a lot, because people need wills. They need a legal will done, but it does have a lot of other legal counseling and legal services that come with it. So get familiarized with that, but that's an area where you can help them, and then just make a note if they need a will as well. And then when you come back for the carry back, you can kind of put together an action plan of what step by step they need to implement. So budgets. Personally, I don't do a budget for every single person. If they're young, just starting out and married, it's probably a good idea for them to sit down and do a budget together. Many times, I mean, sometimes they'll have that done already. They've already, gone through that process. But here's a general budget worksheet, nothing too fancy. but it covers a lot of the areas people would spend money in. So you can put what they're paying now, and you can even say like, hey, my homework is to work out this plan for you. Your homework is to fill this out. Okay, you're going to fill out all your expenses you have now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to swap. I'll give you the plan, I'll show you the plan, and you give me the budget sheet, and we'll see if we can help you save some money someplace, any places, and improve your financial picture even more. And then we're going to go over on a separate training how to get referrals, but there is an introduction sheet on the back here, and it lists about, if you feel good about everything we've done for you, if we put together a great plan and we're improving your situation and better in every way, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to tell 5 or 10 people about it and help your friends and family get in a better position too? Hopefully they'll say yes. Some people are a little skeptical and, referring people, they feel like they're throwing them under the bus. That's just an objection you're going to have to overcome. Um, but we'll go more into that on getting referrals in another training. So that is it. That's the last page, and that's going to wrap up our training for receiving and collecting the information for a financial needs analysis. And then we're going to do another training on how to actually take that information and input it into the computer system on the next training. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the top.